Welcome to Little Dreamers Bedtime Stories. Before we begin, take a deep, slow breath and feel the gentle warmth of morning sunlight spilling softly across a quiet meadow. The rustle of leaves can be heard in the distance, the soft baa of sheep grazing peacefully, and the cheerful hum of a shepherd boy greeting the day. Tonight's story is about a curious child who learns how powerful truth can be and how trust is something as precious and fragile as a new spring blossom. So, close your eyes, breathe in the scent of wildflowers and warm earth, and drift into The Boy Who Cried Wolf, a tale of honesty, courage, and growing up. Before we dive in, if you like our stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our little bedtime family. Your support is what lets us keep creating them.
Little Dreamers Bedtime Stories.
In a quiet valley, nestled between soft, rounded hills, lived a shepherd boy named Elias. Every morning, before the village fully woke and while mist still curled gently along the ground, Elias would guide his family's sheep up the familiar path to the hilltop meadow. The walk was peaceful, pebbles crunching under his sandals, sleepy birds stretching their wings, and the faint smell of warm bread drifting from the baker's house below. The meadow was a beautiful place. Tall grass swayed like green waves, dotted with tiny blue wildflowers that opened slowly as the sunlight grew brighter. Elias loved to watch the sheep wander from patch to patch, nibbling contentedly. He loved the wide view from the hill, where he could see the roofs of every cottage, the winding river, and the distant outline of the forest. But beauty, Elias thought, was not the same as excitement. After the first hour of grazing, everything settled into a hush. The sheep formed quiet little clusters. Birds perched lazily on branches. Even the breeze softened to a gentle hush. Elias sat on his favorite flat stone, swinging his legs and tapping a stick against his knee. Another calm, quiet day, he sighed. He plucked a blade of grass and twirled it. He watched a beetle crawl across his shoe. He lay on his back and counted clouds, but even they moved too slowly for his liking. Down in the village, things were different. He could hear the faint ring of the blacksmith's hammer, the chatter of the market folk, and laughter from children who didn't have to watch sheep all day. Elias longed to be part of something lively, something worth telling a story about at dinner. Then, suddenly, an idea popped into his head, bright and tempting. What if something big happened up here? Something that would make the whole village look at him with wide eyes. What if he pretended there was danger? He sat up quickly. His heart fluttered with mischief. It would be harmless, he told himself. Just a tiny little lie, just to see what would happen. Elias climbed onto the stone, filled his lungs, and shouted with all the strength in his chest. "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is chasing the sheep!" The cry echoed across the valley like a warning bell. Down below, the villagers froze. The baker dropped her dough. The carpenter nearly dropped his hammer. Parents grabbed their children, and shepherds ran for their staffs. Within moments, people were racing up the hill, breathless, worried, ready to defend Elias and the flock. Elias watched them come, and a spark of excitement lit up inside him. The villagers reached the meadow, panting, gripping rakes, brooms, buckets, anything they could use to scare a wolf away. Mothers clutched their aprons, fathers searched the tall grass, and children peeked nervously from behind their parents' legs. "Where is it?" the blacksmith boomed, scanning the hillside. "Where's the wolf, boy?" Elias pressed his lips together to keep from smiling too early. Part of him felt a little guilty. The villagers looked truly frightened, but another part of him felt thrilled. They had come for him because of his warning. He pointed vaguely toward a patch of bushes. "Over there. It ran that way." Several men rushed to the spot. Others circled the sheep, checking every shadow. Women whispered prayers. Children hugged each other, wide-eyed. Minutes passed, then more minutes. The men combed through every bush, every bump in the grass, until the entire meadow had been thoroughly searched. Nothing. Not even a paw print. Finally, the baker's wife wiped her forehead and said, "Elias, dear, are you absolutely sure you saw a wolf?" Elias hesitated. The truth tugged at the corner of his mind. But the attention, the excitement, it sparkled far too brightly to let go. So he puffed out his chest and nodded, with what he hoped looked like certainty. "I'm sure. I saw it with my own eyes." The villagers exchanged uneasy glances. Some sighed, some shook their heads, but they wanted to believe him. Elias was a good boy, after all. A bit restless, yes, but honest. And wolves sometimes passed near the village, though it had been years since one had come close. "Well," said the carpenter at last, "better safe than sorry." "Aye," grumbled another. "Best we were here for nothing than too late for something." Slowly, they began to relax. Shoulders dropped, tools were lowered. Mothers comforted their children, who were already asking if they could go home and tell the story to their friends. As the villagers made their way back down the hill, Elias watched them go with a strange mixture of pride and tingling excitement. They had believed him. They had rushed to help. They had seen him as the brave shepherd who spotted danger. He sat back on his stone, cheeks flushed, heart racing with leftover adrenaline. But as the last villager disappeared down the path, a tiny whisper of doubt flickered in his chest. Would they believe him again if he ever truly needed them? He pushed the thought away. The thrill was too strong, and the memory of everyone running to the hill felt too good. Besides, he told himself, it was only once. What harm could one little fib do? The next morning, sunlight spilled over the valley in soft ribbons, painting the rooftops gold. Elias guided the sheep back up the hill, humming to himself. Yesterday's excitement still sparkled in his mind like tiny fireworks. He replayed the villagers' worried faces, their hurried footsteps, their shouts of concern. It had felt important. It had felt like he mattered. But as the hours passed, the meadow sank once again into its familiar quiet. The sheep grazed peacefully. A warm breeze drifted lazily across the grass. The clouds floated slowly overhead, as though they had nowhere to be. Elias twirled a twig between his fingers. He tossed pebbles. He lay back, watching the sky stretch endlessly above him. And then the thought arose. Sneaky, tempting, impossible to ignore. What if he called again? This time he knew exactly what would happen. The villagers rushing up, breathless and worried, all because of him. It wasn't that he wanted to lie. He simply craved something exciting, something different from the slow rhythm of shepherding. He stood up. His heart thumped. He looked toward the village. "Just one more time," he whispered. "Just once." He climbed onto the stone, filled his lungs, and shouted so loudly that even the birds startled from their branches. "Wolf! Wolf! It's back! The wolf is back!" The valley echoed with the cry. Down below, tools clattered to the ground again. Farmers grabbed their staffs. Children squeaked in fright. Mothers called to their husbands to hurry. Within moments, the villagers were storming up the hill once more, some annoyed, some frightened, all determined. "Where?" demanded the blacksmith again. "Which way did it run?" asked the potter. "Show us, Elias," cried the baker. Elias pointed once more to a random patch of bushes, heart pounding with excitement. The villagers turned every single blade of grass. After what felt like forever, they returned to Elias, breathless and frustrated. "Boy," the blacksmith said with narrowed eyes, "are you certain you saw a wolf again?" Elias nodded quickly, too quickly. But this time, doubt spread across the villagers' faces like a shadow. "I didn't see anything," muttered one. "Nor I," said another. "Not even a track," grumbled a third. Slowly, they began to walk home, shaking their heads, whispering to one another. Elias watched them go, the excitement fading just slightly, replaced by a prickling unease. On the third morning, the sky felt different. Heavy clouds gathered above the hills, dimming the sunlight. A restless wind ruffled the sheep's wool as Elias led them once more to the meadow. He tried to enjoy the walk, but something nagged at him. The villagers' disappointed faces, their lowered voices, the way they had walked home without meeting his eyes. The memory stung more than he liked to admit. Still, as the hours passed, the meadow settled into quiet again, and Elias's boredom crept back like an unwelcome guest. He kicked at a stone. He plopped onto the grass. He told himself he wouldn't call wolf. Not today. not after yesterday. But, just as he resolved to behave, a sharp rustle came from the edge of the forest. The sheep froze. Another rustle. A low growl. Elias's breath hitched. He turned slowly, and there, emerging from the shadows, was a real wolf. Its eyes gleamed, its fur bristled, its paws moved silently across the grass. For a moment, Elias could not move. The wolf stalked closer, nose twitching at the scent of the flock. The sheep huddled together, trembling. Then Elias found his voice, a thin, terrified thread. "Ooh, wolf, wolf, please, help." His cry echoed across the valley, but this time no baker dropped her dough. No blacksmith ran for his hammer. No villagers rushed to his side. Down in the village, people heard him, and they shook their heads. "It's another trick," muttered the carpenter. "I'm not climbing that hill again," sighed the baker. "Let him play his silly games alone," said another. On the hill, the wolf crept closer. Elias's heart pounded painfully. He screamed until his throat burned. "Help! Please! It's real!" No one came. Just as the wolf lunged toward the flock, Elias swung his staff desperately, shouting and stamping, trying to appear bigger than he felt. The wolf snarled, snapped at the air, and finally, annoyed more than frightened, turned and slunk back into the forest. Elias collapsed onto the grass, shaking from head to toe. He was safe. The sheep were safe. But the truth hit him harder than the wolf's glare. No one believed him anymore. By the time Elias led the sheep back down the hill, the sky had darkened into a bruised purple. His legs wobbled with every step. His mind swirled with everything that had happened. The snarling wolf, the villager's absence, the way fear had wrapped around him like a tight rope. When he reached the village square, the townspeople paused their work and looked up. The baker frowned. The blacksmith crossed his arms. Mothers hushed their children. No one spoke first. They simply waited. Elias swallowed. His throat still burned from shouting earlier. "There was a wolf," he whispered. A long silence. Then the carpenter sighed. "Elias, we can't believe you anymore. You tricked us twice." The words stung deeper than any scolding. Elias felt a lump rise in his chest. "I know," he said quietly. "I lied. I thought it would be fun. But today," his voice trembled. "Today it was real, and I was so scared, and no one came." The villagers exchanged troubled glances. Their expressions softened, not entirely, but a little. They hadn't wanted to abandon him. They simply didn't know if they could trust him. The village elder stepped forward, her silver hair glimmering in the fading light. "Elias," she said gently, "trust is like a thread. Every lie weakens it, and when too many lies are spoken, the thread snaps." Elias nodded, tears finally spilling. "I'm sorry, truly." The elder rested a hand on his shoulder. "Then learn from this. Let your words be true, and your heart be steady. Trust can be mended, slowly." The blacksmith sighed heavily. "A real wolf, you say?" Elias nodded. "Well then," said the baker, "we'd better be ready if it returns." The villagers gathered their tools, and together, not out of panic this time, but out of careful caution, they walked up the hill to check the meadow. Elias led them, humbled, quieter than he'd ever been. No wolf appeared that evening, but the villagers saw the trampled grass, the disturbed earth, the signs of struggle, and little by little their doubt faded. When they returned to the village, the elder spoke softly. "Elias has learned a hard lesson today. Let us guide him with patience." Elias smiled through his tears. He would earn their trust again, slowly, honestly, step by step. And now, dear dreamer, it's time to rest your tired eyes and settle into calm. May your words be honest and your heart steady, like young Elias, who learned the true weight of trust. May your dreams glow softly with courage, truth, and gentle understanding. And may every whisper of tonight's tale guide you kindly through the days ahead, just as the villagers' wisdom did in the boy who cried wolf, a tale of honesty, courage, and growing up. Good night.